Let's be honest. It can be frustrating to date someone who doesn't seem to be on the same level of intelligence as you. You're trying to have real conversations, explore ideas, maybe build a future. But he's busy arguing that the sun is technically cold in space because he saw it on TikTok. You bring up your goals, emotions, or even basic facts, and all you get is a blank stare, a bad joke, or worse, another dumb decision you're left cleaning up. And that's when the questions creep in. Is this just who he is? Is he going to keep making bad decisions forever? Do I coach him or cut my losses? But before you make any big moves, let's slow down. Because sometimes it's not about intelligence, it's about emotional immaturity, self-awareness, and mental laziness. And in the words of Carl Jung, thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge. Jung wasn't throwing shade, he was pointing to a deep truth. Stupidity isn't about low IQ, it's about a refusal to think deeply, question oneself, or grow. And when you're dating a man who won't do any of that, it's like trying to build a house with someone who thinks a hammer is too aggressive. So in this video, we're breaking it down. 6 clear signs you're dating a stupid man. Not to shame anyone, but to help you wake up to the red flags before you lose yourself in the relationship. And don't worry, we're not just going to list symptoms like a boring textbook. We're digging into real-life examples, some awkward truths, and yes, even a few darkly funny moments we've all probably witnessed or dated. Like the guy who thought emotional intelligence was a dating app, or the one who argued that cheating isn't technically wrong if it happened in a dream, or the one who seriously believed you can't trust climate change because it still snows. This isn't about being harsh, it's about being honest. Because a recent study published in Personality and Individual Differences found that low cognitive reflection combined with high confidence often leads to poor decision-making in relationships, which means some men aren't just wrong. They're confidently, repeatedly, loudly wrong. And if you're not careful, his inability to think critically can slowly infect your peace, your purpose, and your potential. So make sure you stick around through all 6 signs. Not to judge him, but to protect yourself. Because once you see these traits clearly, you'll never unsee them. Let's dive in. Sign number 1, he only thinks about himself. This is perhaps the most painfully obvious and honestly, the most dangerous sign that you are dating a stupid man. And this isn't even debatable. And no, this isn't just him forgetting to ask how your day was. We're talking about a man who treats the relationship like it's his solo performance. And you're just background vocals in the me show. Everything revolves around his needs, his opinions, his plans, his comfort. You're not dating a partner, you're babysitting an ego. He eats first, talks over you, sucks up all the attention, and then complains that you're too emotional when you finally speak up. If you're sick, he gets annoyed. If you succeed, he gets insecure. If you need support, he mysteriously disappears into thin air, or worse, flips it around and makes it about him. Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of 2 personalities is like the contact of 2 chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." But in this case, you're being chemically drained while he's just sitting there unchanged, unaware, and unconcerned. Self-centered men often appear confident at first. But don't get it twisted, this isn't strength. It's emotional stupidity. It's a complete lack of awareness that love is a 2-way street, not a one-man parade. Worse, these men rarely change. Why? Because in their mind nothing is broken. They think the relationship is fine because they're fine. And this is where a lot of smart, kind-hearted women get trapped. You think, maybe I can change him. Maybe if I love him harder, he'll evolve. Spoiler alert, he won't. In fact, according to a 2023 study from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships, partners with narcissistic and low empathy traits are significantly less likely to adjust behavior after feedback, because they see compromise as weakness, not growth. So if you're constantly explaining basic decency like, "No, it's not okay to cancel our plans last minute just to play video games with your boys," or, "Yes, asking how I'm feeling is a normal part of being in a relationship," that's not just selfishness, that's stupidity in action. Here's the hard truth. If he's always the main character in your relationship, he's too emotionally dumb to play a supportive role in your life. And the longer you stay hoping he'll wake up, the more you start shrinking just to keep things calm. So if this is what you're seeing, don't negotiate. Run! While you still remember what it feels like to be valued. Sign number 2. He never admits when he's wrong. You could catch this man in 4K, with timestamps, eyewitnesses, and a signed confession from his own mother. And he'd still say, "That's not what happened." Or worse, "You misunderstood me." What you're dealing with here isn't just stubbornness. It's emotional stupidity in its purest form. Because the inability to admit fault reveals a deeply broken logic. If I was wrong, then I must be weak. So instead of growing, he protects his ego like it's made of glass. Carl Jung wrote, "To confront a person with their own shadow is to show them their own light." But this guy, he doesn't even know he has a shadow. In his world, he's never wrong, just misunderstood, attacked, or betrayed. And let's be clear, this isn't just frustrating, it's exhausting. Every disagreement turns into a courtroom drama. And guess what? You're the judge, the defendant, and the one getting blamed for bringing up the problem in the first place. Say he forgot your birthday? It's your fault for not reminding him. He hurt your feelings with a careless comment? You're too sensitive. He missed the bill deadline? Well, why didn't you double-check it for him? He's not just avoiding accountability. He's weaponizing blame, and studies back this up. According to research from the University of Oregon, individuals with low self-reflection and high defensiveness show a significant decline in long-term relationship satisfaction, not just for their partners, but for themselves too. Why? Because if you can't own your mistakes, you can't learn from them. And if you can't learn, you stay stuck mentally and emotionally. So when you're dating a man like this, growth becomes impossible. Every argument goes in circles. Every issue gets flipped around on you. And over time, you start questioning your own reality just to keep the peace. Let me say this plainly. A man who refuses to admit when he's wrong is a man who refuses to grow. And you can't build a future with someone who thinks being right is more important than being real. So unless your dream relationship involves constantly babysitting a fragile ego, do yourself a favor and move on. You're not his therapist. You're not his life coach. And you're definitely not his mother. You deserve someone who can say the 3 sexiest words in a relationship. I was wrong. Sign number 3, he doesn't take care of himself. Let's get straight to it. If he doesn't take care of himself, he's not just lazy. He's broadcasting a lack of purpose, discipline, and self-respect. And yes, that's a form of stupidity. Not the kind that forgets trivia facts, but the kind that refuses to be responsible for his own life. You're dating a grown man, not a 14-year-old boy still learning hygiene basics. If he's wearing the same shirt 3 days in a row, his room smells like gym socks and denial, and his idea of meal prep is reheating 3-week-old pizza, we have a problem. This isn't about money or fashion. It's about effort. And if he can't even make the effort to care for himself, how is he ever going to care for you? Carl Jung said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." But this man, he's not looking anywhere. He's just drifting. No vision, no effort, no clue. And here's the real issue. Men like this often feel entitled. They want your support, your love, your time, but they've done nothing to earn it. They'll let you cook, clean, plan, pay, and then turn around and say, "You're lucky to have me. Other girls would kill for this." Kill for what exactly? The emotional labor, the unpaid therapy, the adult son in boyfriend packaging. Let's go deeper. These men often have no clear goals, no financial discipline, and no emotional structure. They bounce from one plan to another. A new hustle every week. Crypto this month, drop shipping next month. But still asking to borrow gas money like it's romantic. And yes, this includes job hopping, chronic lateness, forgetting rent, and saying things like, "I'm just not made for the 9-to-5 life, babe." Translation? I have no grit, no consistency, and I want you to carry the weight of my failure. A 2022 study published in Frontiers in Psychology revealed that self-neglect in young men often correlates with low self-efficacy and externalized blame patterns. In simple terms, they don't believe they can change their situation. So they don't even try, they just hope you will fix it for them. And look, you can love someone deeply and still realize they're not showing up. Because if he can't even handle his own basic life, then you're not building a partnership. You're signing up to be a caretaker. You deserve someone who doesn't need a rescue plan. Someone who respects his own time, body, and future enough to show effort. Because a man who doesn't take care of himself can't be trusted to take care of you. Sign number 4. He's extremely arrogant. At first glance, arrogance can look like confidence. He speaks with certainty. He acts like he knows what he's doing. He walks into every room like he invented the floor. But give it time, and you'll start to notice. His arrogance isn't confidence. It's insecurity dressed in designer ego. The truth is, arrogant men often feel deeply inferior underneath it all. So they overcompensate by pretending to be superior to everyone around them, especially to you. You'll hear things like, "You wouldn't understand. It's a guy thing. You read that book? That author's a fraud. Honestly, most people just aren't on my level." It's exhausting, and it's a trap. Carl Jung once said, "Through pride we are ever deceiving ourselves, but deep down below the surface of the average conscience, a still, small voice says to us, something is out of tune." But arrogant men? They never listen to that voice because it threatens the fragile identity they've built. Worse, arrogant men are often hypersensitive. Say something that challenges their opinion and suddenly they're offended. Correct a minor detail in a story and they'll sulk, snap, or spin the whole thing into an ego war. It's like dating a porcupine in a leather jacket. Looks tough, but one poke and boom, emotional shrapnel. And let's talk about entitlement. Arrogant men truly believe they deserve more than others. More attention, more praise, more control. They expect to be catered to, admired, and obeyed. And if you don't comply, they gaslight you, guilt-trip you, or paint you as unsupportive. They don't want equals. They want applause. Psychologists have long recognized this as a red flag. In fact, studies from the Journal of Personality link excessive arrogance to what's called defensive self-esteem, a shaky internal self-image that requires constant external validation. It's not just unattractive, it's unstable. And if you're dating someone like this, here's what eventually happens. You start silencing yourself just to keep the peace. You stop expressing your opinions, your goals, your truth, because you're tired of the arguments, the dismissiveness, the subtle condescension. But here's the brutal truth. A man who needs to belittle others to feel big will always shrink the woman who loves him. So don't waste your time trying to humble him, because men like this rarely evolve until they crash hard. And by then you'll be burned out, emotionally drained, and wondering what happened to your own voice. Sign number 5, he's always lying. Let's be clear. Lying isn't just a bad habit. It's a full-blown character flaw. And when a man lies constantly, whether it's small stuff or major betrayals, you're not dating someone smart. You're dating someone stupid enough to sabotage real love just to protect his image. Some men lie because they're scared of consequences. Others lie to control how you perceive them. But all of them lie because they lack the emotional intelligence to face reality. He'll lie about where he was, who he was with, why he didn't text back, even stupid things like what he had for lunch. And that's when you know. It's not even about the lie, it's about the sickness behind it. Carl Jung once wrote, "Every form of addiction is bad, no matter whether the narcotic be alcohol or morphine or idealism." But some men are addicted to deception because the truth requires vulnerability, and they don't have the spine for that. Lying isn't clever, it's cowardice. And in a relationship, it's like mold. Once it starts growing, it spreads fast. First, it's little white lies. Then it's full-on emotional manipulation. He'll lie to avoid conflict. He'll lie to avoid responsibility. He'll lie because he knows. Deep down, if he showed you who he really is, you'd leave. And maybe you already feel that. That sick, draining feeling when you're constantly second-guessing him. When you find yourself playing detective instead of partner. When you stop asking questions, not because you trust him, but because you're tired of catching him in another lie. Research from the University of Notre Dame found that lying increases stress, weakens relationships, and correlates with declining mental and physical health. And let's face it, being with a chronic liar is its own kind of emotional illness. It wears you down. It distorts your sense of reality. And over time, you stop trusting your own instincts. Because you've been gaslit so many times, you don't even know what's real anymore. Here's the harsh truth. A man who always lies will never give you peace. You'll always be chasing clarity in a fog of confusion, always wondering what's real, what's fake, what's half true. Now, if he's willing to admit it, own it, and work to change, maybe, just maybe, there's hope. But most chronic liars, they don't change, because lying is their safety net, and they'd rather lose you than lose control. So ask yourself, do you want to spend your life decoding lies? Or do you want to build something with someone who speaks truth, even when it's uncomfortable? Because love without truth isn't love. It's theater. And you deserve better than playing the role of the unsuspecting audience in his one-man show. Sign number 6. He has no interests or hobbies. Let's be brutally honest. If he has no interests, no hobbies, no curiosity about the world, you're not dating a man. You're dating a cardboard cutout with Wi-Fi. A man with no passions, no creative outlet, and no mental stimulation is dangerous, not because he'll cheat on you or break your heart, but because he'll bore your soul into silence. There's nothing sexy about a man whose only activity is scrolling TikTok, eating chips, and waiting for life to get exciting without putting in any effort. He doesn't read. He doesn't build. He doesn't explore. He doesn't do anything except exist, and somehow expects you to find that attractive. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And here's the kicker. Men without interests often avoid hobbies because they're afraid of what they might find if they dig deeper into who they are. So they stay numb. They stay passive. They stay boring. Why does this matter? Because people who have interests have passion. And passion is fuel for every part of life: love, ambition, communication, intimacy. A man who's curious about something, anything, is connected to himself. And when he's connected to himself, he can connect with you. But a man who has nothing going on in his inner world, he can't give you anything meaningful. No excitement, no inspiration, no depth. Conversations with him feel like pulling teeth. You suggest a new restaurant, he shrugs. You want to take a weekend trip, he grunts. You ask what he wants out of life. He says, "I don't know, whatever." That's not laid back, that's emotionally asleep. And if you stay with someone like this, here's what happens. You start shrinking yourself just to match his smallness. You stop sharing your big dreams because he doesn't get them. You stop suggesting adventures because he's just not into that stuff. You stop growing because he's not going anywhere, and you're getting tired of dragging dead weight. Worse, men like this often become emotionally needy. Why? Because they've got nothing else going on. So they expect you to be their entertainment, their motivation, their therapist, their entire emotional ecosystem. That's not love. That's codependency wrapped in laziness. Studies in personality psychology show that individuals with low openness to experience, one of the big 5 personality traits, tend to be more rigid, less adaptable, and less emotionally intelligent in relationships. Which means, if he's not curious about life, he's not capable of evolving with you. You need someone who brings energy, ideas, and excitement into the relationship. Someone who's alive, someone who's growing. Because dating a man with no interest isn't just boring. It's a slow emotional death. And you deserve someone who doesn't just watch life pass by, but dives into it, brings you with him, and makes you feel like life is always expanding. In conclusion, dating a stupid man isn't just frustrating, it's emotionally draining. It's like trying to build a future on quicksand. He may be charming, funny, or even good-looking. But if he lacks self-awareness, personal growth, emotional maturity, or basic life direction, you're not in a relationship, you're in a rescue mission. And eventually, love turns into labor. Yes, everyone has flaws. Nobody's perfect. But the difference between a flawed man and a foolish one is simple. A flawed man wants to grow. A foolish man refuses to see a problem. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." So, before you decide to break up with your boyfriend, try talking to him about your concerns and see if he's willing to work on them. Ask yourself, is he willing to reflect, to change, to grow with you? Now, before we wrap up today's video, I'd like to ask you a question. What other traits do you think are signs that you're dating a stupid man? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. We would love to hear from you. And if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to leave us a like and share this with someone who really needs to hear it. Thank you for watching. Until next time.